Hi, my name is Laura Barkley, and I am here to present case study scenario number one, Brompton bicycles. So I'm going to show my ID so you can clearly see that I am Laura Barkley in this presentation. I am from Arkansas, a business owner from Arkansas, and I'm so happy to be here with you today to present this case study. I chose this case study because it's something I have faced as a business owner. So, in a couple of different scenarios. So, as a therapy clinic owner, I faced what we were going to do during COVID and how inelastic our services were to our patient base, our group of patients that were receiving services during COVID. So some clinics didn't make it. Other clinics did. Thankfully, we did make it. Actually, we barely felt it. And it was such a compliment because our patients felt that our services were so valuable that they were willing to continue to come to therapy during a crisis situation such as COVID. And secondly, I faced this when Medicare decreases or eliminates reimbursements for specific services that the patients found extremely valuable. And then that service becomes a self-pay service or free. So, and I had to make the decision, am I going to increase the cost of that service for the patient to pay for it in a self-pay manner? Or are we going to eliminate that service? Are we going to provide it for free? And how much do we increase the cost of that service so we can continue to provide that valuable service to the patient? So today we're going to look at a company called Brompton Bicycles. And this case study focuses on changes that happened to this company during Brexit. So Brexit was when the UK left the European Union, and it caused the British pound to weaken and made imported materials more expensive. So for a manufacturer like Brompton, this meant higher cost and uncertainty, which directly affects pricing decisions. So this case study is designed to help me as a student and business owner apply economic concepts like supply, demand, and price elasticity to a real business situation and make a practical decision or recommendation. And so we're going to look at this situation for Brompton bicycles. Okay. So I'm going to walk through Brompton's pricing strategy after Brexit and give you my recommendation as a business owner who understands what it feels like when your costs go up and you've got to decide what to do about it. Okay, so now we're going to look at the agenda. Okay, so here's what I'll cover in this presentation. Who Brompton is, the basic economic ideas behind pricing, what changed for them after Brexit, and then I'll break down their pricing options and give my final recommendation. So, Brompton overview. Brompton makes high quality folding bags. So these are not Walmart bags. They're premium, engineered really well, and attract customers who care about quality more than the cheapest price. So they've built a loyal following, sort of like what happens when people love a local business and won't switch just because someone else is cheaper. And that is key when you make this decision, because if you don't have that and you hit a situation like this as a business owner, you're in trouble. Okay, so looking at key economics, there are two ideas we really need to consider here. One is demand and supply, basically what customers want and what it costs to make the product. The second is price elasticity, which is just a fancy way of saying if I change the price, do customers stop buying or do they keep buying anyway? You can probably guess what my recommendation is going to be based off of what I told you about my therapy clinic. But let's go ahead and consider Brompton's demand. So for Brompton, demand is pretty inelastic, meaning people aren't super sensitive to the price. Why? Because their bike is not quite like another bike. So their customers tend to be professionals, commuters, and city folks, people who aren't going to ditch the brand just because it's a little bit more expensive. So if you've ever run a business, you know that when you have a product people specifically want, you have more flexibility in your pricing. Okay, so let's look at Brexit impact on cost. After Brexit, the British pound lost value. For Brompton, that meant that materials they import, like steel, rubber, and other parts, suddenly cost more. As a business owner, I've dealt with rising supply costs myself. And when that happens, you've got to look at pricing and decide if keeping the prices the same is even realistic. Okay, so pricing options. There are three options for Brompton bicycles. So number one is that they raise their price, which actually makes sense here because demand is inelastic and their cost went up. Second, they could keep their prices the same. Margins are going to shrink, and this is not sustainable in the long term. So they're not protecting their margins. And then third, they could lower their price, which honestly doesn't make any business sense here. Their customers aren't choosing them based on price, so lowering it wouldn't really gain them anything. Okay, so my recommendation is going to be raise prices slightly. So not crazy high, but just enough that you tell the consumer that this product or this service is valuable enough that we feel like this slight raise in our price is going to cover our increased cost because we want to continue to provide this good or this bicycle to you or this service to you, in my case, services to you, because it is valuable. And I have seen that actually when you do a slight price raise, people or the consumer say, oh, this is really valuable, like, oh, this is going up in price, so that means that it's something really good. And so that is my recommendation because Brompton, their demand is inelastic. So I really feel like with their loyal customer base and their premium product, they need to protect their margins for the long term. So they have a really strong brand and not a lot of competition that offers the same thing. So a modest price increase is completely reasonable. And it also says, hey, we are a valuable company. We produce a valuable bicycle, and we value it enough to take care of this business for the long term. Okay, so in conclusion, to wrap up, Brompton's customers will stick with them even if the prices rise. Their costs have clearly gone up, and protecting margins is part of running a strong business. So raising prices is their smartest and most sustainable move going forward. And unfortunately, in situations like this, the best of the best companies are going to be the ones that make it. If you've got companies that do not have a strong consumer base, unfortunately, some of those companies are not going to make it, and this is going to be a very stressful time for them. So, if you've got a business that has a very high demand product or service with a good foundation, a good solid consumer base, that is what you are really, really wanting to be successful. And then you can make it through these crisis situations or these unexpected things that happen to all of us as business owners, without losing your business in the long term. So that is my recommendation for case study number 1. Thank you so much.